Hello, lovelies, and welcome to the first episode of the Motivational Mama Podcast. I am your host, London Marie, and it is my goal to create a safe space for women to heal and feel during their journey on healing their inner child. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about getting out of your own way. Yes, sis, you. Get out of your own way. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but we're gonna try and deep dive and figure out why that is. So before we get started, I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor of this episode, The Fiscal Dose. They are a personal finance and career coaching service. They specialize in getting your foot in the door where you belong. A few of their services include budgeting and debt planning, resume creation, LinkedIn optimization, profile audits, and more. So to learn more about them and to schedule your free clarity call, go ahead and head over to www.thefiscaldose.com. So be sure to sign up for their newsletter so you can get your weekly dose of finance and career development tips and tricks. Now, let's go ahead and dive in. But before we get started, honestly, I have to ask, how are you? Literally, like, how are you? I can honestly tell you that for me, I am present and accounted for. That's about the best answer that you're going to get right now. Like, honestly, these past few weeks, I don't know what it's been, but it has truly been very thought-provoking, very eye-opening, and very revealing. Like, those are the three things that I would say it has been: thought-provoking, eye-opening, and revealing. Because people have been showing their true colors. Honestly, when it comes to this, like the title of the episode, getting out of your own way, like, I have been stepping out on faith, y'all. Like, it is beautiful. It's scary, but it is beautiful. So when I say that, honestly, these past couple weeks have been truly challenging but revealing for me, I mean that if there was another person on the other side of the door, I'm trying to get through it, and I'm jiggling a handle, but I can't get through it. And when I finally do, I'm staring at myself. Sis, I know y'all have been there before. We all have been there before. We all have been the other person on the other side of the door that's like, let me in. Let me in. And in reality, why do we do that? Like, is it because the voices that are penetrating in our head that are telling us that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not pretty enough, social media telling us that you don't have enough? There's just so many factors that go into why we feel the way that we feel and why we are actually blocking our own blessing. I'm a firm believer that those things that we desire, the visions that we have, the dreams that we see, those things are placed in our heart for a reason. God has placed those things in your heart because you are deserving of those things. And the things that you want you back. It's a really interesting perspective, but they want you back. But they're not going to come to you. God's not going to give you those blessings until he realizes that you are worthy in a sense of being receptive. Are you receptive of what I'm about to bless you with? So when it comes to getting out of your own way, that is your opportunity to prepare yourself to be in a position to accept that blessing, to be in a position to be receptive of the things of the universe, the things that God has for you. So these past couple weeks, I have been honestly just stepping aside and allowing God to truly take over. There was a moment where I was thinking about this podcast, trying to get our photo shoot down to make sure that, our pictures look nice, our promotion is great, and everything like that. And as I'm taking the photos, we go on Pinterest and we try and find what we like. But as I'm taking the photos, they're just not coming out right. Like, I'm frustrated at this point because I'm like, my photos don't look like their photos. And I was really getting discouraged. And my fiance, he could tell that something was not right. Like, you got to get it. Like, you got to just take a break. Take a break and come back. Because you're stressing yourself out and you don't have to. So take a break and come back. And he asked what was wrong. And I told him, and I said, my photos don't look like their photos. So maybe I should just not take these photos. Maybe I should just try and find another way to promote so-and-so and promote this podcast, because it's not coming out right. And he snickered a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I got pissed off, because what's funny? But But honestly, looking back at that conversation, I can see why it was funny, because why am I comparing myself to a Pinterest post? That's not me. That's not my picture. It's not going to look like that. I am not her. I am not him. You know, and I was literally about to stand in my own way and not do this photo shoot and not do what I had to do, because something in my head was like, because it doesn't look like that, it's not right. Because it doesn't look like that, I just shouldn't take these pictures. And I almost allowed myself to feel like that was the answer. And there are many times in our lives where I know that sometimes we think that those thoughts in our head are the answer. Those penetrating and intrusive thoughts are the answer. You shouldn't take that photo. Don't post that. That's not right. Ooh, all these sound effects and ad libs in your head. And sometimes we begin to feel like that's the truth. And I'm here to tell you that though those may be your feelings, they are not the truth. So I'll tell you what, I ended up taking those photos. And they came out cute, if I do say so myself. Because I removed that expectation. And that's a big part of standing in your own way, if I'm being honest with you guys. A big part of your standing in your own way is you're placing these expectations on yourself for something that you possibly have never done before. So you know how, like, I have a toddler. She's 2, she'll be 3 in November. And I often hear a lot of people be like, oh, she's 3, like, she needs to act her age. Like, come on, Aria, act your age. And I have to take a step back and I'm like, wait a minute, like, my baby girl ain't never been here before. She's never been 2 before. She's never been 3 before. So how should she know how to act her age? You're putting this expectation on them, and then when they don't do it, you're setting yourself up for failure. So when you are doing these things in your life and those penetrating and intrusive thoughts are coming in, those are expectations that you're placing on yourself that are unfair. You've never done this before. I've never taken podcast photos before. I've never started a podcast before. I've never done this job before. I've never done this activity before. But I'm putting this expectation on myself that I'm supposed to be good at it. That I'm supposed to be the best. That it's supposed to be the prettiest. Why am I doing that to myself? Why are you doing that to yourself? Remove that expectation. Not because you don't think that you're worthy of it, but because you have to give yourself grace. I give my daughter grace. She's never been 2 before. I give myself grace. I've never taken a brand photo shoot before. I give myself grace. I've never done this job before, you know? And when those feelings come into my head, one thing that I start to do is, honestly, I start to pray. And I tell God, and I say, I've never done this before, but for some reason, you've put me in this position to do this. So you see something that I don't, and I give it to you, God. Allow me to be receptive of your vision, of your blessing. Work through me so that way I am able to do what you have set out for me to do. It's easier said than done, and it has taken me, y'all, it has taken me years to get to this point. Because I had to figure out where those inner thoughts were coming from. I had to evaluate what they actually meant to me. My therapist has truly helped me with that, what they really meant to me. Additionally, evaluating the sense of like, why do I believe those things? Why am I standing in my own way? Why am I comfortable standing in my own way? Am I really comfortable standing in my own way? Because just because I'm doing it doesn't mean that I'm comfortable doing it. It doesn't mean that I want to do it. It just means that It's easy. It's easy to stand in your own way. It's easy to be that person on the other side of the door that's like, you're not about to do that. It's easy to be that person. And when you are doing things that you've never done before, what are you typically going to do? You're going to find the easiest route. You're going to find the easiest coping skill, the easiest mechanism, And sometimes you have to take the hard route. You got to take the hard route. In light of trying to not take the easiest route, I'm going to tell y'all now, if I sound a little stuffy, this weather change, allergies, it is kicking my butt right now. But I really wanted to get this episode out for y'all, so I'm pushing through it. But anyways, in light of not taking the easiest route and trying to get out of your own way, I wrote down 4 mechanisms that have been helping me, 4 coping skills, shall I say, that have been helping me get out of my own way, and I wanted to share them with you guys. So I have my notes here. So if you see me looking down, I have my notes. The first one is to confront that negative self-talk. The enemy wants us to believe those lies. So when those self-doubting thoughts come in your head, those intrusive, negative thoughts, take them for what they are. Understand why they're there. And then speak the opposite. I'm not good enough. I am good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I am pretty. And honestly, one thing that I would say too that has helped is taking away that enough. So instead of when those thoughts come in your head and be like, I'm not smart enough, just be like, I am smart. Simple as that. I am smart. Period. Leave it at that. Because you are. Whenever. So at the end of a song, Jacqueline Carr, one of her songs, I have to look up which one it is. But she said, when the devil tells me I am something, I always say I'm not that. And whenever the devil tells me that I'm not something, I always say I am that. That is honestly how I combat those negative thoughts. So be the opposite of whatever that thought is saying. So that's the first thing. The second thing is stop the comparisons. I know we live in such a competing society. Oh my gosh, with social media and just YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and everybody's got to look like this, and you got to be goals this, and you got to say this and do this. That comparison will get in your head, and it'll stop you from doing what you have to do because somebody else's business is taking off. So you too busy comparing your year 1 to their year 10 because that's what you see. But you don't see the trials and tribulations that they've been through. You just see that they're blossoming. And you try to figure out well, why am I not blossoming? Baby girl, y'all not in the same space. Y'all not even in the same chapter. Stop trying to read ahead and compare yourself to something that's not where you're at right now. So cultivate your experiences. That's my advice on that. Is to cultivate your experiences. Social media. Follow people that make you feel good. If you are following people and the first thought you have is, ooh, I wish my house looked like that. Dang, if I had that body, I would be this. If I had this, I would be that. If whoever you're following is making you feel that way, unfollow them. Not because you don't like them, but because that is not helping you. So cultivate your experiences. Just same way that you cultivate the physical spaces that you're in, and making sure that your areas look nice, making sure that the people that you surround yourself with are supportive. The same way that you do that in real life, just do that on social media. Still do that in your real life, but for sure do that on social media. It helps, honestly. The third thing is to give yourself grace. Again, baby, you've never been here before. I've been here for 26 years, but I ain't never been 27. I've been in my apartment for 2 years, but I've never been here for a third. I've been a mom for 2 years, but I've never been a mom of a 3-year-old. Give yourself grace. A lot of things that you're doing in life, you are doing it for the first time. And if you're not doing it for the first time, then you're doing it with experience. So give yourself grace to get it right. It's okay. You've never seen this version of you. So you cannot expect to know this version of you, how she's going to act, how she's going to talk, how she's going to walk, you've never been this version of you. So give yourself that grace to become that version. And then just keep progressing from there. I wrote down something that honestly really has helped me. And it says, have a heart-to-heart with yourself about where you're truly at. Meet yourself there and start there. So again, you have never been here before. You've never been in this space. Meet yourself where you're at. The same way that people tell you to meet somebody else where they're at, somebody else got an attitude, somebody else is not feeling right, somebody else is doing these things, and people tell you, just meet them where they're at, girl. The people in the church, meet them where they're at, girl. Meet them where you're at, girl. Look in the mirror and meet yourself where you're at. Give yourself that grace to be in that space. The fourth thing is to discover and remember your why. The more that you love your decisions, the less that you need other people to love them. I'm gonna say that again. The more that you love your decisions, the less that you need other people to love them. That one for me was a very hard pill to swallow because I have been brought up in a household where other people's opinions mattered. My mother used to always tell me that I am a reflection of you, you're a reflection of me. I'm a representation of you, you are a representation of me. So that's a lot of pressure to put on a little kid. Like, ooh. Okay, all right. That's a lot of pressure. And that's a generational thing in my family. And so, honestly, I have been brought up to make sure that my decisions please other people. And I'm coming into my own form, especially as a mom, I'm coming into my own form and recognizing that I gotta do me. What did Cookie say to Lucian?
I gotta put me first, Lucian.
Like, you gotta do you. And the more that you love what you're doing, the less that you feel like you have to do it for other people, and when you are doing things, the one thing that I want you to ask yourself, if they weren't around, would I be doing this? If they weren't watching me, would I be doing this? It helps you check yourself, honestly. It helps you check to make sure that whatever you're doing is not performative. Because if it's performative, it's not authentic. And that is a big, big hindrance and helps you honestly stay in your own way because you're not doing something for you. You're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it for the people around you. And 9 times out of 10, they probably don't care. You think they do, but they don't. So discover and remember your why. Why are you doing this? Why am I starting this podcast? Why are you going to go get that new job? Why are you moving across country? Why are you moving out of your mama house? Why are you going to church again? Why are you reading the Bible again? Why are you always in that room praying? Why? Discover and remember your why. And you won't worry about what everybody else has to think. Because your why is not their why. And that's okay. Get in the habit of asking yourself, does this create the life that I want to live? And if the answer is no, well, then you already know what to do. Don't do it. It's easier said than done, but it honestly really is that simple. So those 4 things are what have helped me, especially these past couple of weeks, kind of get out of my own way. And things that I've taken with me to progressively stay out of my own way. Because I know the life that I want to live. I know the God that I serve. I know the daughter that I am. I know the mother I am. I know the fiance that I am. And that version of me does not stand in her own way. That version of me is one that I'm meeting with grace. That version of me is one that I'm discovering for the first time. And I'm not going to stand in her way. Don't stand in your way, sis. Don't stand in your own way. Well, that concludes the episode. I am so excited that you decided to spend this time with me. And if you liked what you heard, head over to YouTube, drop us a note in the comment section below. Let us know, what are some ways that you are getting out of your own way? Do you use the tips that I've mentioned, or is there anything that's different that you want to share? Because I'm always trying to figure out new ways to get out of my own way. So put a comment in the section below and just kind of let us know what you guys are doing. Also, you can like us on Apple Podcast. We're not on Spotify yet, but soon we will be there. And follow us on Instagram at Motivational Mama Podcast. Until next week, with love, your motivational mama.